Welcome, everybody. Give me a quick second. We're going to get started with the week ahead astrology. Go ahead and put my phone on do not disturb. Moving things around. Okay, there we go. Let's go live on Insta. There we go. How's everybody doing? Get the chart of the moment pulled up. Let's wait for people to come into the lobby. We're live on Instagram. This will be uploaded to YouTube later on today. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing? Let's look at the astrology of the moment. We're going to be talking about the astrology of the week ahead. Thank you for being here, Grand Rising, everybody. The moon's in Sagittarius, right on my MC. The moon's at 17 Sag. My MC, I believe, well, I have Saturn at 18. My MC is at 20 Sag. So we have, I'm glowing. Thank you. Well, I'm in my room today. So my parents have been staying in my living room. So I'm in my room today. We have a little bit of a scenery change up. You'll notice that the background looks different. Well, this is because I'm in my bedroom. And I'm most likely glowing because of the lighting. There's tons of lighting around. So thank you guys for being here. Really excited to dive into the astrology of the week. How's everybody been feeling? How's everybody been dealing with this Mercury retrograde? It started off a little rough, I'm gonna be honest, but we're coming to the end of our Mercury retrograde in a bit. Let's take a look at the astrology of the week. What do we have going on this week? Well, let's talk about it. We have Mars finally going into Libra on Thursday, the 7th, August 7th. Mars goes into Libra, immediately making an opposition to Saturn and Neptune, who are in Aries at 1 degrees. I do believe we have a Venus Jupiter conjunction this week. Is it this week or next week? Let me see. We have this beautiful Venus Jupiter conjunction. Venus is now in Cancer as of last week. Everybody coming in, welcome. And we have Venus Jupiter coming to conjunction. It'll actually be next week on August 11th. It looks like they conjoin at 13 degrees of Cancer. And they both are going to move to 14 degrees of Cancer as well. So we have this beautiful Venus Jupiter conjunction that's actually next week, but we have it culminating this week. So we're really going to feel it. We're going to be feeling good. Venus Jupiter together is wonderful for artists, for spiritualists, for musicians. It's great for healing family bonds, having Venus and Jupiter in the same sign. So I think that's going to be pretty big, this week, next week, as Venus is transiting Cancer, co-present with Jupiter. There's going to be a lot of things around kind of like, well, everybody coming in. Thank you for being here. Welcome, Grand Rising. Happy Moon Day. The moon's in Sag today. We are going through our new moon and Leo cycle. But yeah, Venus, Jupiter together in Cancer, them being co-present. Then we have a conjunction that's actually going to be on like Monday, Tuesday, August 11th and 12th. They're going to be sitting together. It's really good for healing family bonds, for kind of going back to the past and, having that conversation with your mother, having that conversation with your father, kind of getting back to your roots, getting back to your heritage. One of the things that kind of came to me actually with Venus and Jupiter transiting Cancer, Venus entered Cancer last week. We have both of the benefics, right, in Cancer now. One of the things that came to me was in order to heal the tree or in order to heal, like, if we want to heal the tree, we got to heal the root, you know? And I think of Capricorn as the sign connected to trees. And Capricorn is a sign that opposes Cancer. And I always think of Cancer as the root, right? Cancer, the sign of Cancer or the house associated with Cancer, the fourth house, is the foundation of the chart. It's the IC, it's your heritage, it's your past, it's your relationship with your mother, it's what you inherit from your family or what you don't inherit, right? It's property, it's real estate, it's your sense of safety, it's your sense of security. The fourth house is actually connected to the heart. It's really interesting, actually, how the sign of Cancer, and the sign Leo, right? Cancer and Leo being the luminaries, the sun being the luminary of the day, right? Rules the sign of Leo, and then the moon being the luminary of the night, rules the sign of Cancer, where the sun and the moon are complementary of each other and they reflect each other. Well, the moon reflects the sun's light. They are the planets connected to creation and to birth, and they have a lot to, they're so important, the sun and the moon are, when you are asking someone their big three, what are you asking? You're asking for their rising sign and their moon sign and their sun sign because the sun and the moon are so important, right? They're these foundational planets to our experience of astrology. So we have, the sun, Mercury, and Leo. We have Jupiter, Venus, and Cancer. And there's just kind of this invitation to kind of like really go deep within ourselves and really ask ourselves, what is this relationship that we have with the luminaries, with the sun, with the moon? And I think the moon, right? Cancer, the sign of Cancer. Let me close my door. Has a lot to do with kind of like the foundation, Cancer, of what we build our identity upon, Leo, right? Like it's like Cancer being the sign that comes before Leo. It's like you have to be a baby Cancer before you're a child, right? So a lot of times what we don't realize or we don't understand or what we're actually unable to see is how, yeah, this just started. Someone asked, did this just start? A lot of times we're not able to see, okay, how our experience of our fourth house, of the sign of Cancer, of our moon, of our childhood, of our past, of our ancestry, of our heritage, of the people that came before us, how that influences our identity today, our self-expression, our relationship with our confidence, our relationship with our creativity, and with how well we know ourselves, you'll see there's a lot of people that really strongly identify with family, with their past, with their mother, with their father. I'm definitely one of those people. I do have a Capricorn moon, but my fourth house ruler, which is Mercury, I have Sun, Mercury together in Scorpio. So I have my fourth house ruler in the ninth house conjunct the sun. So for me, family is a very strong part of my identity. But not everybody has that relationship with the moon, with the sign of Cancer, or even with the sun, right? Some people they have a debilitated sun, 12th house sun, eighth house sun. Their sun is very weak, or they even their fourth house ruler, the fourth house, their moon is afflicted in some type of way, right? Someone said, I want to hear this. Just received news that my grandmother transitioned last night. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Um, but I think what's important, right, is like in order for us to understand where we're going and who we're becoming and what we're going into, we got to know where we've been. We got to know where we come from. And I really do feel like this Jupiter Venus conjunct in Cancer, right? During Leo season. We have a Venus Jupiter conjunction. It's actually happening next week, but the reason why I'm talking about it this week or now is because we do have Venus and Jupiter co-present. Venus just entered Cancer last week, right? It's this opportunity. It's giving us this ability. It's giving us this um, kind of like calling attention to, or to really heal the root, to really heal what's going on within ourselves, to really heal to really heal like what ancestry means to us, what family means to us, our relationship with the past, and also our inner emotional body, right? Because I feel like if we have a solid foundation, if our Cancer house, if our fourth house, if our moon is in order, then we'll feel confident and we'll feel able and capable and we'll be willing to go out in the world and express ourselves, take up space, get attention, be okay with receiving attention, with receiving admiration, with receiving accolades, which is a Leo thing, you know? So you got to kind of do the moon before you can do the sun, you know? And I think Jupiter, Venus conjunct co-present in Cancer is giving us the opportunity to really ask ourselves like but it's like it feels so good. It's Jupiter and Venus together, you know, it's the benefics together. So they feel so good, but it's given us the opportunity to really like heal those family wounds, you know, and to really like give our parents grace and give ourselves grace and to really like allow the past to be what it is so that we can build upon it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So, we this I do believe this is our last week of Mercury retrograde. Let me double check. Yeah, I do believe, yeah, this is our last week of Mercury retrograde. So, and the Merc this has been a tricky Mercury retrograde. It definitely gets easier this week now that Venus and Mars are out of Gemini and Virgo. The reason why the first 2 weeks of Mercury retrograde were so rough was because we had Venus and Mars in Mercury ruled signs. So Mars was in Virgo, a sign ruled by Mercury. Venus was in Gemini, a sign ruled by Mercury. And Mercury was retrograde. And not only that, but Venus and Mars were squaring each other, right? They were kind of moving and like they were moving together in a square. They're even kind of a little bit. Let me go to the astrology for a moment. I think they're even kind of a little bit. They're kind of. Oh no, they're not squaring each other. No, no, they're not squaring each other. Yeah, we already have Venus at. She's at 5 degrees Cancer, and we have Mars at 28 degrees Virgo. So they're not in a square with one another at all. But yeah, it was a little rough. Okay, the Mercury retrograde in the beginning was a little rough, okay? Um, because of the Venus Mars, it being in Mercury ruled signs and squaring each other. And then Mars also transiting the South Node was a little rough. But I think this is a week where we get now that Mercury's coming to the end of his retrograde cycle this week, we're getting a little bit more clarity. We're finding solutions to our problems. We're getting yeses. Things are going to start to open up or move forward. We have very important choices, very important decisions that we got to make. And Mercury goes direct on this. So Mercury is going to be retrograde all week. Mercury goes direct on Monday, August 11th. So let me make this a little bit smaller. There we go. Um, Let me double check that though. Let me verify that. So, what did you learn during Mercury retrograde in Leo? Right? What have been some key reflection points or tension points for your Leo house, your relationship with your identity, your relationship with yourself? It's Leo season, your relationship with your confidence, your ability to shine, your ability to take up space. Do you have an overinflated ego, prideful, arrogant, selfish, narcissistic? You're walking around, okay, burning everything around you like a giant overinflated sun, okay, causing wreaking havoc to the world around you, okay? Or do you have an underinflated sun? Are you a little dwarf star? Do you shrink? Are you shy? Are you timid? Or do you have a hard time, accepting recognition, accepting rewards, standing up in front of a crowd and performing, right? Sharing your creative talents. One of the big things that's been coming through for me is creative confidence, this idea of creative confidence. Um, Being confident in your ability to create, to express your creations, to share your creations, whether it be art, whether it be dance, whether it be music, no matter what it is, right? Like Leo, the sign of Leo reminds us that we are all our own creator. And we are all here to create in various ways. And we are here to show up and manifest and shine and glow in different ways, right? So we are needing to kind of reflect on what the Mercury retrograde in Leo has been a reflection point on what is our relationship with Leo energy. Do we trust ourselves, right? Also, are we able to take on leadership positions, authority positions? Do we have a strong will? That's one of the things I love about Leo energy and people that have a really strong sun or well-placed sun. Their willpower, their sense of will, their force of will, their ability to to command others and to command attention and just to create just like move things along in their life, right? That's a very Sun thing. It's a very Leo thing, right? I don't know if my mom is a Cancer rising or a Leo rising. Sometimes I feel like she's really a Leo rising because like even yesterday we went to dinner at this at Portland City Grill in downtown Portland. It's a restaurant that it's like on the 30th floor and it has this beautiful overlook of the city, right? So we went to celebrate my dad's birthday. My dad is actually a Leo. His birthday was yesterday, and we did not get a window seat, even though we had a reservation. We didn't get a window seat, and my mom was not happy about it. Neither was my dad. So my mom, she talked to like the floor manager, and then he couldn't make it happen. So she ended up talking to the general manager. And so let me tell you, we ended up getting a window seat last night because my mom was like, I'm not gonna put up with this. And sometimes you need that Leo energy. You need that confidence. You need that, let me go talk to your manager energy, right? To make things happen. Force of will. And that's what I really think about the sun. When the sun wants something, when the king wants something, right? Because the sun is like the CEO, the boss, the king, the queen, right? That's why CEOs have been like a focus. That's why we had that weird thing with the CEOs getting caught kissing at the Coldplay concert, getting literally spotlighted. That's a Leo thing, right? Um, so yeah, when Leo energy wants something, the sun wants something, it's gonna command it. It's gonna force it. It's gonna be like, no, this is what's going to happen. You are in my narrative. You're in my story. And that's one of the things I told my dad yesterday. I was like, you know what? This is my mom's world. We just live in it. Have you ever met those people, right? Like my mom is one of those people, but I have a cousin who reminds me of that energy as well. Like wherever they go, it's like, no, this is their world. This is their narrative. This is their story. Okay, and we're just living in it. And that's what Leo energy is kind of like. This is my story. This is my narrative. I'm the main character. Okay, Leo energy. I'm the main character, and you're living in my narrative and my story. You're in my movie. Okay, so you're not gonna ruin it for me, right? And that's what this Mercury retrograde in Leo has been trying to reconnect us to. Is like this building this really strong relationship with the self, being confident, being sure of yourself, knowing who you are, right? And we're wrapping up this new moon in Leo cycle um this week. We do have a full moon in Aquarius. Hold on, let me see. This week as well. Let me look at the full moon in Aquarius. We do have a full moon. Yeah, we're wrapping it. We're wrapping up our new moon and Leo cycle this week, and we have a full moon in Aquarius this week. So we already kind of got a little bit of a taste of that energy already because why we had a new moon in Leo opposite Pluto in Aquarius. And I was talking about this with the new moon. I was like, we're gonna get like a double down of this kind of like opposition between like Leo and Aquarius energy. We're gonna be feeling it because we had a new moon, which was Sun Moon opposite Pluto and Aquarius directly, right? They were both at 2 degrees. Pluto's at 2, the new moon was at 2. And now we have this full moon coming up. Let me go by hours here so I can get it. Um, that's the sun in Leo opposite the moon in Aquarius, right? So there's kind of like that polarity. We're having to explore this polarity between Aquarius and Leo. Also, what's really interesting is Mercury goes direct on Monday in an opposition to Pluto and Aquarius, right? So Mercury goes back to 4 degrees Leo, and then Mercury's going to be in that kind of fixed opposition with Pluto because Pluto's at 2 in Aquarius when he goes direct. So there's kind of like this, that new moon that we had. Mercury moving back into this opposition with Pluto before he goes direct, right? It's kind of like there's like this deep inner plutonic excavation transformation that we're kind of like going through. And the word that actually came to me, okay, it's going to be at 16. So the full moon in Aquarius is going to be on Saturday, August 9th. It's going to be at 16 degrees Aquarius, okay? So we'll talk about it. But there's been this kind of like the word that came to me was initiation. We're being initiated into a new timeline. And we can no longer be selfish. We can no longer be egotistical. We can no longer only be thinking about ourselves and what we want, right? Because this new move, because that's what Leo is. Leo is like me, what I want, right? Like I don't really care about what anybody else is. I'm talking about this archetypally, right? I don't really care about the collective. I don't really care about the community. I don't really care about the consequences of my actions and how it impacts other people, right? But that's not what Aquarius is. Aquarius, being the opposite of Leo, is like, what about the community? What about the children? What about the homeless? What about the LGBT people? What about the ostracized? What about the forgotten? What about the immigrants? Like they're people too. They need representation too. They need expression as well. They need rights. They need liberation. They need freedom. Aquarius pulls us into this awareness of societal consciousness, right? This the super ego, like it goes above the ego, which is Leo, right? Aquarius is a more of an evolve, it's an evolved sign. It's the second to last sign of the zodiac. And so, this new moon in Leo opposing Pluto in Aquarius, we have a full moon in Aquarius, right? We're being initiated into what Pluto in Aquarius is going to be about it for the next 20 years. And it's really about like how we relate to the world in a way where we need to really see ourselves as humanity, right? Like we are all humans, and because we all are occupying this earth together, then we all deserve to be treated fairly. We all deserve to be treated equally. We all deserve love and compassion. We all deserve food. We all deserve housing. We all deserve education. We all deserve health insurance and life insurance. We all deserve these things, right? Not there's no reason why some people should have access to these things and others shouldn't, right? Being human should be enough, and that's what this kind of like this Aquarius energy, this full moon in Aquarius, this new moon in Leo, opposite Pluto in Aquarius, it's initiating us into this awareness, this hyper awareness, right? Where we've grown up in a society that's been so fixated on the self, that's been so fixated on the ego, right? Where we're disconnected from what community really means and what community is about, you know? And what's so interesting about this full moon in Aquarius coming up is, do you guys know what country has a Aquarius moon? Guess the country that has an Aquarius moon. It's probably not going to be that hard to guess. Some of you guys have seen the United States birth chart. You know what the US's birth chart looks like. We do. The United States has an Aquarius moon. Okay. So the United States does have a 26-degree moon in Aquarius. And we can really see this, right? Because the United States is a country of strangers. The United States, right? When you go any city, then I've talked about this before, but any city that you go to, right, you're gonna have these little pockets of cultural communities. You have Chinatown, you have the Irish town, you have little India, you have, little Japan, you have little Korea, right? What's up? You have something to say? Oh. He wants to come out. Oh, no, he's good. He's good. Yeah, he's sleeping. Yeah. And mom. Um, so if you think about this Aquarius moon, right? And there's kind of like we're isolated in our little cultural communities here in the United States, you know. The United States has been a giant experiment of okay, let's go ahead and import all these people over here from different countries and different places, parts of the world, so that they can go ahead and build America, right? We could go ahead and take advantage of their labor. So I don't know. That's why you're here. If you were a person of color, If you are a person of, if you are a person of color, okay, if you are a foreigner, okay, a foreigner, all right, the reason you're here is because, the founders of America, they needed cheap labor, all right, and maybe that was you or your ancestors, okay, and that's why you're here. So, here we are. Recreating, right? Little Armenia, little Ethiopia, exactly, right? So here we are, we're trying to recreate and copy what our culture was, right, from the countries that we came from, right? Or the cultures, the heritages that we came from. But there's this weird, there's a lack of like cultural connection. There's a lack of cultural community in the United States, right? Like, what is American culture? American culture is a amalgamation of it's a kind of like a bastardization, I would even say, of a lot of of cultures from different places, right? America does have in some ways it does have its own unique culture, but it's something different and it's a little strange, right? And I think that's what we get with Aquarius moon energy and with this full moon in Aquarius is like there's this awareness of the stranger, of those that are outside of our community, those that are different than us. Good morning, welcome, right? But how do we still love those people and accept those people and give them grace and understand that they're still human beings, even if they're sitting across from us on the table and if they look different, right? If they have different beliefs, if they have a different skin color, if they have a different gender preference, right? If they like boys, they like girls, if they want to be something in between a boy and a girl. How do we still hold space for those people? How do we still love them? How do we still accept them? How do we still, understand that no matter what, at the end of the day, they deserve to be treated like human beings, right? And I think that's what this full moon Aquarius and that's what this energy is kind of like here to show us and here to teach us. And it's kind of here to humble us in a way, you know? Um, but one of the things that we can't shy away from is all the kind of endings, and this is something that I was talking about with the full moon in Capricorn. And telling people like I was talking about this with the full moon in Capricorn, how in the middle of the luminary seasons, right? In the middle of the season of the sun and the moon, of Leo and Cancer season, well, not usually in the middle, but during it, right? We have these full moons that are ruled by Saturn. Cancer season, we have a full moon in Capricorn, right? Leo season, we have a full moon in Aquarius. Capricorn and Aquarius are these signs ruled by Saturn. So we have these Saturn ruled moons in the middle of these seasons that are like fun and great and like, oh my God, we're having a good time and it's all sunny outside and everything looks outside, right? The public, Leo is like the public, your public persona, your career, how you shine, like your reputation, right? The sun in our own birth chart is an indicator of our career life, our public life, right? Our how we shine, how we glow, even to some extent, kind of like our legacy and things like this, right? That's connected to the sun. Our ability to take on leadership positions, to take on authority positions, to work in government, to be an entertainer, be a celebrity. That's all determined by the strength of your sun, the location of your sun in your chart, right? Um, but where was I going with that? But then we have these like full moons that are Saturn ruled that are kind of here to like humble us. And these are more private and these are more sad and they're more tragic and they're more about loss or struggle or hardship or difficulty or even how, right? I'm thinking about this particular full moon in Aquarius, how we have been ostracized, how we've been bullied, how we been picked on? How have you been the black sheep in some area of your life, whether it be with your own family, whether it be in friendship, whether it be in community? When are these moments where you have been isolated and kicked out of the group and like, kicked out of the family and you're not invited to the gathering in some type of way, right? Like that's what the full moon in Aquarius reminds us of, right? And these full moons in the middle of these luminary seasons that are ruled by Saturn, right? They're about endings. They're about struggle. They're about hardship, right? Like it's like we have these when the sun is transiting Cancer and Leo, it's like, oh my God, we these are the seasons of the luminaries. If you're in the, if you're in the northern hemisphere, oh my God, it's summertime and it's so beautiful and it's so warm out, right? But then those full moons hit, full moon in Capricorn during Cancer season, full moon in Aquarius during Leo season. And it's like, wait a minute, there's this, we got to remember, wait a minute. Everything is not all shiny and beautiful, right? Everything is not all like with life there's death, right? With success comes failure, right? Like we get reminded with these full moons during the luminary seasons that wait a minute, not everything is all peachy and sunshine and rainbows. Like there's a little bit of this awareness that we need to have that there is hardship, there is difficulty, there is tragedy, there is loss, there is struggle, right? And I do think, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. I do think this week's full moon is gonna be rough. I think it's gonna be rough. I think it's gonna be a rough one. The even the new moon in Leo was rough, a little rough. We've had a lot of tragedies. The Mars South Node thing going on, Mars in Virgo with the South Node, men losing their mind, men going kind of crazy, men overreacting, men feeling lost in the sauce, right? We've been seeing a lot of acts of violence being committed by men over the last few weeks because of that Mars South Node energy. Like the South Node, so when you really start to understand the South Node, and you research it, you'll learn about it. You'll start to understand how the South Node has a lot to do with illness in different ways. Mental illness, spiritual illness, physical illness. The South Node, I've talked about this before. You guys have heard me mention this, has a lot to do with cancer, has a lot to do with bacterial infections, viral infections. A lot of people are getting sick, getting ill. I've been dealing with stomach issues, digestive issues. When Venus was in Gemini, people were having lung illnesses, lung issues were a big thing over the last few weeks. Weird or just weird, strange illnesses. Also, the South Node has a lot to do with illnesses that cannot be found. That like you go to the doctor and they just cannot find what's wrong with you. That's a South Node thing. Okay. But the South Node also has a lot to do with the mind and our spiritual health and our spiritual well-being and our ability to emotionally, spiritually, mentally, or physically detach from the world in different ways. But what happens when your ego, your consciousness detaches from this reality, right? And you get caught up in an alternative reality, right? When you're going through dementia or Alzheimer's, or you have a psychotic breakdown or a psychotic episode, right? And you're like not with it. That's a South Node thing too. That could happen during South Node transits, or even when your sun or your moon get eclipsed, or when the nodes are hitting you in a certain way, right? In transit. So, you know, I do think it's gonna get a little bit. I think the South Node, the influence of the South Node, we're not gonna see it so prominent anymore now that Mars and the South Node are separating from each other. Let me go read the comments right here. Hold on. Someone said, yes, I was sick 3 weeks with the virus cold. Yep. My neighbor who was 47 passed away from a heart attack. That's Leo. Leo was a heart. Last week, today I found out my friend who's 41 has cancer, been put on hospice. It's too much. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, my love. Yes, it's been a time for those of us with more than one baby daddy. Oh yeah, Leo season. Leo. The sign of Leo is about your fathers and your children. So this Mercury retrograde in Leo, baby. You got to figure out those baby daddy issues. Waving at everybody. Someone said, me on vacation the past week having so much anxiety and sadness. Yeah. You know, yeah, like Mercury's in Leo. Mercury's been combust the sun. So there's been a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of nervousness in the air. And the Mars in Virgo and the Venus in Gemini, we're not making it easier. Okay, we're making it a lot harder. Okay, the Venus in Gemini and the Mars in Virgo, that South Node Mars in Virgo, I'm glad that we're getting out of that energy this week. Because the Mars in Virgo, this like, you know, the shadow of that South Node Mars in Virgo, right? Which is like uh, the bad habits, the lack of self-care, the kind of like self-destructive tendencies, and also this energy of kind of like, I'm not good enough, I'm not perfect enough, nothing that I do is going to be great, nothing that I do is going to be good enough. Like this, we're trying to attain this perfection. We're trying to, it's interesting. It's like this kind of like self-criticizing energy, this kind of like self-critiquing, self-criticizing energy, we've been really hard on ourselves. the Mars South Node in Virgo thing that was going on, right? It's like that self-criticism and that like kind of like negative self-talk, and it's like that was really easy to do. That's been really easy to do the last like few weeks, you know? But now that energy is kind of dissipating, it's going away this week, which is one of the things that I love. I love Mars getting away, getting out of the sign of Virgo. I don't know. Mars going through my seventh house. I have not been wanting to, I don't know what's, I just, because seventh house has a lot to do with your clients. And so with the South Node of Mars going through my seventh house, I just wasn't really feeling the desire to do readings or to work with people or to connect with others. I've been really just wanting to be in my own energy, be in my own vibe. And it's really interesting because that Mars in Virgo on my seventh, the South Node, I was kind of feeling very irritated by others. Like I'm just in this space where I'm just like, I've been irritated by other people for no reason. I'm just like, ugh, like just other energy, other people's energy is irritating me right now. And I'm like, ugh, just want to be in my own space, be my own energy, right? I'm glad that that's going away though, because that's not me. I'm understanding that this is kind of like an energetic experience for me because of Mars going through my seventh with the South Node, right? Also, the Mars South Node conjunction thing, Mars transiting the sign of the South Node. It's also why our energy has been feeling very depleted. We've been feeling very weak. The South Node also exhausts, okay? The South Node exhausts, the South Node drains. The South Node is like, I call it the cosmic, like, it's like a black hole. I call it the cosmic funnel of energy that goes out. So, not that Mars and Libra is any better for energy, okay? But we're not going to have Mars on the South Node anymore. Mars does go into its detriment in Libra. The one thing I'm a little concerned with, I'm really concerned. The reason why I think this full moon in Aquarius is going to be rough, that's coming up on Saturday, is because the full moon is ruled by Saturn. And we have Saturn conjunct Neptune, who are both retrograde. But to make matters even a little bit more tense, a little bit more difficult, a little bit more hard, or even more challenging, we have Saturn, Neptune directly opposite Mars and Libra at 1 degree for the full moon in Aquarius. So we have a full moon in Aquarius at 16 degrees. 16 is a Cancer degree. Okay. It has a lot to do with home, family, our emotions, the past, our sense of safety, our sense of security. Okay. Full moon in Aquarius. Aquarius is about friendship. Aquarius is about communities, about the collective. It's about the revolution. It's about rebellion, but it's also how we honor our uniqueness, how we honor the ways that we're different, the ways that we stand out, the ways that we're not meant to fit in, right? Our sense of democracy, our sense of justice. I always think of Aquarius is a very justice-oriented sign. It's a very it's a sign of humanity. It's a sign of humanitarianism, right? But then this full moon in Aquarius, right, is ruled by Saturn in Aries conjunct Neptune, who are both retrograde, and Saturn and Neptune. Saturn is in its fallen Aries. Saturn and Neptune do not get along. They don't really have much in common. Okay. They're together at one, and then guess what? They're directly opposing Mars, who's in his detriment in Libra, also at 1 degrees. So we have a Saturn Mars opposition. Okay. This by far is a very dangerous aspect. It's one of the most dangerous aspects to have in a birth chart. Saturn opposite Mars has a lot to do with violence, has a lot to do with accidents, has a lot to do with fighting authority figures. Because Mars is like an usurper. Mars is like a rebel when he's an aspect to Saturn. Saturn is like the regulator. Saturn is a rule maker. Saturn is government. Saturn is those that kind of like force their wheel and they're not really caring what other people think, right? Where Mars is like, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to rebel. I always think of the movie Gladiator, the first one with Russell Crowe. Or was that with Gerard Butler? I don't remember. Gladiator. I think it's with Russell Crowe, right? You don't know what love is. Yeah, it's with Russell Crowe. Yeah. Love Russell. Love me some Russell Crowe. I always think of Mars when Mars and Saturn are in a harsh aspect with each other, like Mars opposite Saturn, Mars square Saturn, whether when someone has that in their birth chart or even if we have it in transit. I always think of the very end when Russell Crowe challenges the king, and he takes on Joaquin Phoenix. And it's like the king is being put into the arena, and the king has to fight Mars. And I think I always get that image comes to me with Saturn opposite Mars or Saturn square Mars because Mars, right? He doesn't necessarily want to be a leader. See, that's the thing about Mars. And we think about Russell Crowe. He doesn't really want to be king. He doesn't really, he's not really, he's fighting for his freedom. He just wants to be free. He's not trying to take on the king. He's not trying to, but he ends up being the one that's chosen to do the job, right? Because he's put into the situation where the circumstance unfolds where he takes on the king right, in the arena. And that's Mars opposite Saturn. And so I do think that with this full moon in Aquarius and with Mars opposite Saturn, I think there's going to be these moments, Saturn in Aries, Mars in Libra, where we have to call out injustice. We got to fight for ourselves. We got to assert ourselves. We got to challenge authority figures. You got to break the rules a little bit, right? To bring things back into equilibrium in some type of way, you know? The beautiful thing, though, the beautiful thing is that for this full moon in Aquarius, we do have Venus and Jupiter within 3 degrees of each other. So we have Jupiter at 13 and we have Venus at 10 for this full moon in Aquarius. And they're actually moving into a conjunction next week, right? Which is what we talked about earlier in the video. So I think it's going to be even though there's this really harsh, you know, Sun opposite Moon between Leo and Aquarius, Mars opposite Saturn and Neptune between Aries and Libra, we do have Venus and Jupiter kind of coming in to bring some kind of healing or bring some kind of balance. Also, there is an integration of the Mars, Saturn, or an offsetting. I wouldn't say integration, there's an offsetting. Oh, yeah, I guess integration is a good word to use as well. Of the pressure between Saturn and Mars, there's actually a place for that opposition energy to go. Okay. So Mars in Libra is making a trine, a grand trine, with Pluto and Aquarius at 2, Uranus and Gemini at 1, and with the Mars and Libra at 1. So there's this beautiful grand trine, this grand air trine between Mars and Libra, Pluto and Aquarius, and Uranus and Gemini for this full moon, okay, which I love. Also, Saturn and Neptune in Aries are still making an aspect to Pluto and Uranus. And Saturn and Neptune are also making a trine to Mercury, who's at 4 degrees Leo, okay, and who's about to go direct, right, on Sunday, the day after. Oh, actually, hold on, wait. Let me go by hours here to see when he goes. Did I say Monday? Is it the? Hold on, let me see. I'll tell you guys when Mercury goes direct. It's either Sunday or Monday. I don't remember what I said. You don't know what love is. I need you know. Let's see. I want to get this exact. Depends on where you're at in the world. Okay, it is Sunday. Yeah, August 10th. Mercury goes direct. So we have Saturn and Neptune trining Mercury direct. So there's definitely some lessons that we don't learn this Mercury retrograde. And you know, it's interesting because I just want you guys to keep in mind, like if you're feeling very strange, you're feeling very weird at this time, you're feeling very like misplaced, like you don't know where to go, you're feeling a little directionless, you're feeling a little confused, you're feeling very exhausted, you're feeling very tired, you're feeling a little uninspired, okay? I just want you to understand, my loves, all right? We're going through, we're like the everything is changing. We're emerging into a new timeline, okay? And we're in a strange place right now. Okay, we're collectively in a strange place. And I think we just need to honor that. You know, I'm just thinking about, you know, the way Saturn, Uranus, and Pluto are just like an aspect to each other and how we're having these events, these lunations that are heavily aspecting this Pluto, Saturn, Uranus, who've gone into new signs. It's like it's a new timeline that's emerging. It's a new day. It's a new period. It's a new energy that we're kind of, you know, we're being forced into. It's a little clunky. It's a little awkward. It's a little weird. And it's a little sad. You know, it's a little we're grieving and things. So I just think we really need to honor this kind of like awkward place that we're in, and we need to understand we can't put too much pressure on ourselves because society is going through an evolution, and we're caught in it. We're in the thick of it, right? Into the thick of it. Into the thick of it. So, yeah, I just want to remind you guys of that because this is just, it's been a weird time. This has been weird. This astrology is weird. This astrology is tough. All right. This is a very difficult astrology that we're dealing with. Okay. Let me go back to the full moon though. I want to look at that full moon again. I want to keep talking about that full moon. I'm gonna do a live on the full moon, like a separate live on the full moon, and then we're gonna talk about what time is it? Where are we at right now? Okay, we're about 45 minutes in. Okay, cool. We're doing good on time. Um, yeah, because the way that these planets are aspecting, Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, it's like we're being made aware in a very like clear way that the way things have been, it's like it's no longer working. And we may feel this deep within ourselves as well. You know, we may be feeling this deep within ourselves as well. Like the way I've been living, the way I've been thinking, the way I've been existing, the way I've been, working, the way I've been, or not been taking care of myself and these habits, whatever. It's like this is no longer working. Something's got to give. Something's got to change, right? It's like pressure has been building up, pressure is being applied, and something's got to give, right? Something's got to change. And we're feeling that. We're feeling that collectively. We're feeling that globally. We just don't know what that looks like quite yet. We don't know what that change is going to look like yet. So we just got to lean into it. Okay? Lean into it. It's okay to be a little weird. We have a full moon in Aquarius coming up. Now be a weirdo. Be a part of the future. Become part of the future that you want to see. Okay? So okay. Let me see. Hold on. Let me go back to this full moon because this full moon. Oh my goodness. But yeah. So I was talking about Saturn opposite Mars. I'm just a little worried about that Saturn Mars opposition. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm a little worried about that Saturn Mars opposition. I don't really like that. You don't know what love is. Saturn opposite Mars. Saturn, Neptune opposite. Sun opposite Moon. Mercury opposite Pluto. There's just a lot of these oppositions going on with this full moon. Oh my goodness. It's being offset though. Jupiter, Venus together. We have a grand trine. We have a grand air trine in the sky. We have Saturn trining Mercury. So there's a way out. It's like there are solutions. There are, opportunities, but we kind of need to think outside of the box. We need to be very creative, my loves, this week, okay? If you're trying to get something solved or get something fixed, you kind of need to ask for help. You need to reach out to community. You need to be okay with kind of thinking outside of the box, doing something different. Someone said I'm supposed to go to Reno this week. Kind of want to cancel. Well, my love, Jupiter and Venus are together. So if you want to go travel and vacation and stuff this week, do it. Do your thing. I'd never let astrology deter me from, well, I don't know, it depends. Unless I see something, it's like, whoa, it's like, oh no, we're not gonna go on that day. It's in how it's hitting my own chart. But like general astrology, I would never let it impact me. Unless it's like showing up in my own chart specifically. It's like hitting my chart in a certain way, then I would like reconsider. Going to visit my mama. I love that for you. Yeah, Jupiter, Venus, and Cancer. I love that. Going to visit your mother. Yep. So we just need to be aware of, what is needing to change in our life in a very dramatic way and what we're needing to like grieve or purge or move away from because we're being put in some of these situations where we're not being given an option or a choice, in some type of way. So we just need to be aware of that, okay? But yeah, we have a full moon in Aquarius this week. We have Jupiter, Venus coming into conjunction, but that actually happens next week. We have Mars going into Libra this week. We have Mercury going direct this week on Sunday. Um, Mars is going to immediately move into an opposition with Saturn, Neptune, which I think is a little tough. That's a little bit of that's a hard aspect. People that have Saturn, Mars in aspects to each other in their birth chart, oh lordy. That's a little bit of a rough one, especially if it's a square in opposition. That's a rough one. I actually have a friend who has a Saturn Mars conjunct. It's been rough for her. That's a rough, especially Mars and Libra opposite Saturn and Aries. I don't know. Okay, so maybe I'll talk a little bit about this aspect. Yeah, let me talk a little bit about this aspect, okay? I'm gonna talk about this Mars and Libra opposite Saturn and Aries, okay? And because it's conjunct Neptune too. So, oh, let me stretch a little bit. There we go. All right. Before I dig into this, because this I need to talk about this aspect, okay? Specifically because let me tell you why. Yeah, so if Mars transits your Mars is amplified. Yeah, but that's also you going through a Mars return. So it's really important when any planet returns to the natal planet that you have, if you have in that sign, like let's say you have Mercury in Scorpio and Mercury is going back into Scorpio, the planet is renewing itself. The planet is it's like hitting the refresh button and it's like it's at the finish line and it's starting a new cycle for you. So whenever you have a planetary return, right? Whenever a planet goes back to the sign that you have that planet in, that's important. And that planetary return can be significant in some type of way, okay? But I wouldn't say it's amplified per se, but I would just say it may be significant or prominent. I don't think it would be amplified though. I wouldn't use that word amplified. Let's talk a little bit about Saturn opposite Mars, okay? Saturn in Aries opposite Mars in Libra. The reason why Saturn and Mars is a little bit more dangerous than these signs is a little bit more violent, a little bit more risky, a little bit more impulsive, a little bit more damaging or detrimental, I would say, is because both planets are fallen or in detriment in these signs. For instance, Mars in Libra is in detriment. Saturn in Aries, it is in its fall, which means that these planets are in signs that they don't do well in, that they don't energetically align with, that they don't really operate well in. So, uh, one of the things I want you guys to remember in general, this is a general thing when it comes to astrology. When planets are in detriment or in fall, they're not going to function in their best form. So, one of the outcomes of planets in detriment or fall is that you get more of their shadowy experiences, or you experience more of their shadowy expressions. You get more of their darker expressions. And it's one of the things you always want to remember about planets in detriment or fall is that they're not functioning optimally. They're not in signs that they align with energetically, right? And so we're going to get more of their shadow aspects or more of the opposite of what they're trying to do, okay? Saturn goes into its fall in Aries because Aries is a sign that's fast. Aries is a sign that's hot, right? Saturn is a planet that is cold and slow. Okay. Saturn is cold and slow. Aries is hot and fast. So what you get when you put Saturn in Aries is you get abuses of power, you get anger, you get violence, right? You get a very irritated, a very frustrated. You get a very irritated, frustrated Saturn. Saturn, he doesn't want to be rushed. He doesn't want to be heated, right? He's like, oh, he's uncomfortable. It's like you're putting Saturn in a fire and he's irritated and he's mad and he's frustrated, right? Mars, he's trying to exert himself. He's trying to be powerful. He's trying to be courageous. Right? But when he's in Libra, he's trying to keep the peace. He doesn't have the energy that he needs. Mars is a hot planet, and you put him in Libra, which is a cold sign. Mars in Libra, he has a hard time asserting himself. He has a hard time fighting for himself. He has a hard time expressing his energy, expressing his confidence, expressing his fight, expressing his courage, right? So this is why Mars and Saturn are in detriment and in fall in those signs. But we get more of their shadowy aspects, especially with the opposition. So what I'm a little worried about with Saturn and Aries opposite Mars and Libra, I'm a little worried about relationships and people who are in relationships where there's inequality, where there's power dynamics, where there's violence, where they fight, they argue, if there's like DV situations. I'm worried about this Saturn opposite Mars because I think Saturn opposite Mars is going to I think we're gonna see violence against women. Or I think we're gonna see violence, we're gonna see, divorces and separations, yeah, but I think it's gonna be more about like anger and fighting and people, being at their wits' end and people realizing I'm not gonna put up with this bullshit anymore. So I'm gonna lash out, I'm gonna assert myself, right? How do you think the reception between Saturn and Mars will work? Bigger, better? What do you mean by that? Are you talking about like the opposition that I'm talking about right now? I'm talking about Saturn and Mars opposite each other. Someone said Saturn and Neptune are conjunct my natal Chiron, opposite Mars, conjunct my natal Pluto, with my natal return happening, and it's rough. Yeah, it's really rough because, oppositions make you aware of how energy is externalized in your life or how energy externalizes itself, right? And so, Saturn, when I'm thinking of Saturn and Mars, if you like, this is on my nodes. For instance, I have the North Node at 0 degrees Aries, and I have the South Node at 0 degrees Libra. And so Saturn and Mars, right, are um all right on my nodes. So I'm really interested. I'm really curious to see how this is going to um show up in my life. But it kind of reminds me of in my own chart how that South Node in Libra has a lot to do with like how I struggle with relationships, how I struggle with connection, how I struggle with, other people, and how I find myself getting taken advantage of or putting myself in positions where I get taken advantage of, right? With that South Node in Libra and that North Node in Aries is like me having to assert myself, me learning what it is to be more confident or to be more independent or to do things kind of like alone. But how this Saturn Mars opposition is going to fit into that, I'm just really curious to see how that's going to show up for me because I do think it's going to manifest as a situation that I may have with someone where I have to kind of like assert myself or fight for myself or something. Someone said Saturn and Aries ruled by Mars. It's not a reception though. The reason why Saturn and Mars are not in a mutual reception is because Saturn does not rule Libra, right? Mutual receptions only happen through sign rulership, not even though Saturn exalts in Libra, he does not rule Libra. Therefore, it is not considered a mutual reception. So, if it were mutual reception, mutual receptions do offset pressure, and they bring signs into balance and into harmony, or they bring those two planets into harmony or imbalance, or they have like a remedial effect. Mutual receptions remediate pressure from planets that are fallen or in detriment, but this is actually not considered a mutual reception. Even though Saturn exalts in Libra, Saturn does not rule Libra. Therefore, it would not be considered a mutual reception, right? What's up? Oh, the keys? Hold on. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, here you go. Thank you. So, but Saturn and Aries and Mars, they're in signs opposite of the place that they want to be in. Why did Saturn exalt in Libra? Because in Libra, Saturn has a divine sense of awareness around justice, around what is right and wrong, right? And the reason why Saturn exalts in Libra is also, it has a lot to do with like relationships and marriage and like commitment and contracts. Like Libra is a sign of business. Libra is a sign connected to salespeople, lawyers, right? Libra is a sign of justice and fairness when it comes to our exchanges and our dealings with others. And so the reason why Saturn exalts in Libra is because Saturn becomes hyper aware of his dealings and the karmic consequences of his dealings with others, right? So it's like Saturn in Libra is very much like, okay, well, we're not going to go ahead and take advantage of this person, or we're going to honor the contract, or we are going to, fulfill the commitment, fulfill the promise that we made to see things through so that we don't accumulate any kind of like karmic blowback or anything. Someone said, oh, you said, okay, I heard some astrologers say it does factor, but I didn't necessarily agree with that. Yeah, I don't agree with that because the reason why I don't agree with that is because Saturn does not rule Libra. Even though he is exalted in Libra, that's Venus's sign. Libra belongs to Venus. So I wouldn't consider it a mutual reception. I actually think this is very detrimental. I think this is very difficult. I think this is very hard. Saturn is fallen and Mars is in detriment. And um, even though Mars does rule Aries, I just don't think that it's really helping. The mutual reception piece does not, it's just that I wouldn't consider it, because it has to be a sign ruled by the opposing planet, right? So yeah. But anyways, yeah, so I'm a little, there could be like contractual issues with contracts, issues with leases, legal issues, legal problems. There could be issues with, you know, kidneys and the head and your blood, diabetes and things like this. Maybe, those that have blood sugar issues or they have diabetic issues. Saturn opposite Mars is kind of like a trigger point for that. That can be a whatchamacallit, a moment where your blood sugar drops or something, or that Saturn Mars can trigger something like that. So there's something where the blood and the blood sugar are just not in alignment in some type of way, or something's off. So I just think we need to be very aware of the Saturn Mars opposition, that it actually goes exact on on the 9th, but we're gonna start to feel it when Saturn goes into Libra on Thursday the 7th. Okay. So I just want you guys to be aware of this. If you know someone that's in like a toxic or violent relationship, or if you know that someone that, they're always fighting and arguing with their partner or their spouse, that's like an Aries Libra thing. Okay. Um, you know, just make sure that you're making people aware of, like, okay, there's gonna be this aspect in this guy, and you want to be a little careful. You don't want to argue with your fight with your partner, especially if you have people in your life that are prone to violence or anger, especially when drugs or alcohol is involved. Why? Because Saturn is with Neptune. Neptune, escapism, avoidance, alcohol, drugs, substances. Saturn conjunct Neptune, opposite Mars and Libra, right? Saturn, not really honoring your boundaries, your limitations, drinking too much, doing too much, right? Saturn, Neptune, opposite Mars and Libra. You get too drunk, and all of a sudden you're cussing people out and you're fighting people. So, or someone else, right? So we just got to be aware of this. Someone asked, when does this dissipate? Well, next week, it's going to be in the air. Mars is moving really slow. He's taking about 2 days to go a degree. So we're gonna be feeling this week, next week. I feel like it's not gonna be until the week of the 17th. I'm looking at Monday, August 18th, that we're not feeling it no more. Because there's now 7 degrees of separation between Mars and Saturn by Monday. But we're feeling it this week, starting like Thursday, all next week, especially for the full moon. We're feeling it for the full moon. So I do think relationships are going to be a big theme for the full moon. And I think relationship pressure, like, feelings of injustice, feelings of unfairness. But the high vibration of this is kind of like reclaiming our personal authority, reclaiming our personal power, holding others accountable to truth, to fairness, right? Kind of like there's this kind of like social justice, equality, having to call out unfairness, having to call out inequality. There's that kind of energy in the air. But I'm just, but this is very violent energy. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm not gonna BS you. This is a very violent energy as well. I just, to me, Mars and Saturn in aspect to each other that's one of the most violent aspects. That's a very violent aspect. Is violence. It indicates violence. Okay. Men that have Saturn Mars aspects in their chart, they're criminals. They have a karma around being warriors that run in the lineage, right? Being in the military, being criminals, they've had their family, they have ancestors that have been in the mafia, okay? That have been doing dealings in the black market and things like this. I see it. I see it a lot, okay?
It's definitely a murder instinct aspect to having a birth chart. Do you think there will be any correlation between the Venus Jupiter conjunction that follows with Venus dispositing Mars?
Well, that's what I was saying. I was saying that Venus Jupiter is bringing this kind of like beautiful healing bomb, you know? Venus Jupiter coming into conjunction next week and being co-present. I was talking about this in the beginning of the video or in the beginning of this live, how Venus Jupiter together is bringing this really sweet, kind, healing, loving, nurturing, this the two benefics, Jupiter exalted, Venus, she likes being in Cancer. I think Venus is great in Cancer, honestly. She's in a sign ruled by the moon. Um, it's like there's this kind of like family and home and going back to our roots and going back to the things that really emotionally make us feel good and things like this. I also think it's beautiful that on the day of the Venus-Jupiter conjunction, um, or as Jupiter and Venus come together, the moon's in Pisces trining Venus-Jupiter. We have this we have this beautiful trine. We have the moon at 13, we have Venus at 12, Jupiter at 13. We have this beautiful trine between the moon. Yeah, I'm looking at Monday, August 11th. We have Venus and Jupiter at 13 together, and the moon's in Pisces at 15, trining Venus and Jupiter. It's beautiful. We have this beautiful energy, right? So what I was also saying is that there is a way to offset the pressure between Saturn and Mars because Mars is in a grand trine with Uranus and Pluto. So Mars is in Libra, trining Pluto, trining Uranus are in a beautiful grand trine, right? Saturn is still sextiling Pluto, still sextiling Uranus. So there is a way out for that opposition, but it just really, if we get caught up in that Saturn opposite Mars, we get caught up in the conflict, if we get caught up in the war, if we get caught up in the fight, or we're not able to see outside and kind of work towards a solution, or if we just feel like, baby, I just gotta, I gotta give it to them, they gotta have it. It's like then that Saturn and Mars can really cause some destruction and cause some damage. So we just need to be aware of that, okay? But if you do have anything at early degrees of Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer, if you have anything around like 1 degrees of Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer, I want you to be very aware of this Saturn Mars opposition that culminates on Thursday of this week, and we'll be going into next week, okay? Because it's gonna be a little tense. It's gonna be a little tense, okay? It's gonna be a little tense. And we have a full moon on Saturday. So yeah, so it's like we have Mars going to Libra on Thursday, opposed Saturn, right? He hits the opposition with Saturn directly on Saturday, the day of the full moon in Aquarius. Okay, which is ruled by Saturn in Aries, who's opposite Mars in Libra. So this is why it's like the planet that's the strongest here, okay? The planet that has the most say in this full moon, this time, this week, okay, is actually Saturn. It's actually Saturn. Starting with the full moon on Saturday, August 9th. It's Saturn that we're following, or it's Saturn that we're listening to, right? So it's just something to keep in mind, okay? That Saturn, in Aries, he's been a criminal. He's been a menace. He's been wreaking havoc. He's been causing destruction, okay? We've been seeing a lot of violence, a lot of fights, a lot of anger, a lot of just, people protesting, and that's beautiful. It's great, but we just got to remember Aries is a sign that is a little rough around the edges, okay? It's a sign of the warrior spirit, assertiveness. Desire, courage, bravery, fighting for what it is that you want. We should be a little aware of this, what Aries energy is about, because we had the North Node going through Aries all last year. So we should already have this. We had the eclipses in Aries and Libra. We've been seeing global injustice. We saw breakouts of war with the eclipses in Aries and Libra, right? We saw the whole thing happening with Gaza and Palestine and Israel. We all were front and center for all of that, right? Well, guess what? Saturn's in Aries now. So Saturn's going to make that energy more real. It's going to make us more aware of that. So it's just something we got to be aware of, okay? Even when war and fights break out and things like this, we can't go ahead and bury our head in the sand. We can't do that. We have to pay attention to what's actually happening. Someone, I don't know. No. Someone said, "Do you know when the last Saturn opposite Mars occurred? Just wondering if any past events lined up with that opposition before." Yeah, I haven't researched that, haven't studied that. Do not know. I'd have to go back and research it. So, but if you want to, go ahead and do a little bit of research on that and let me know what you find. Okay. But I do know people that have this in their birth chart. Okay. There's actually people, yes, there are. Um, there's actually people that were born, I think they're born 96, 97. I think they're born 96, 97. They have Saturn in Aries, opposite Mars and Libra. Shaquilla Robinson. Do you guys know Shaquilla Robinson? Was this last year or the year before? It could have been last year. It might have been last year. She was the one that went to Mexico on vacation with her friends, and then she ended up passing away. And there's all this like weird there was like this weird like they had video of the of her friends beating up on her. Like she was getting jumped by her friends, and then she ended up passing away from like a broken neck while she was on vacation in Mexico. You guys remember that? Shaquilla Robinson? She has that. So she has Saturn in Libra. She has Saturn in Aries, opposite Mars in Libra, directly on the nodes, on the North Node. And I think she has the North Node in Libra and the South Node in Aries. And I've done readings for people that have that aspect, and a lot of them have gone through violence in relationships, whether it be friendships, whether it be romance, or even they grew up in a household where their mother and the father were fighting each other, and there's like domestic violence. Let me see. Hold on. Shankila Robinson, yeah. So, it's not an aspect that I've studied when it comes to like mundane astrology, but it is an aspect that I've seen in birth charts. And it's a very people that have it, they there tends to be, you know, not all of them, but many of them have experienced violence in their relationships or just like difficulties with partnerships. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, but it's like Saturn. So someone said the last conjunction was in Pisces, April 2024. But yeah, that's like in Pisces though. Like Saturn in Pisces opposite Mars in Virgo is very, very different than Saturn in Aries opposite Mars in Libra. You're putting Saturn and Mars in cardinal signs. Saturn is in a fire sign, Mars in an air sign. It's a very different energy. It's a very, very different energy. Okay, let's keep going. I don't want to fixate on that. It's already 10:18, so and we got to talk about the moon. We got to talk about the moon for the week. So let's go over the moon's transits for the week. We did talk about our full moon in Aquarius that's coming up on Saturday the 9th, which I will do a separate live on. I'll talk about that full moon. I think it's going to be a very pivotal, very transitional, very transformational full moon, a very awakening full moon. There's a lot coming into our awareness. It's really interesting because the day of the full moon, we have Mercury, or a few days after the full moon, Mercury goes direct. So we do have a full moon with Mercury still retrograde, but Mercury goes direct. So I really do think that this full moon is going to make us aware of things connected make us aware of things that are connected to friendship, community, our goals, our dreams, our ambitions. Let me close this window really quick. Got the dumpster man up there. Now let's talk about the moon's transits for the week. Let me close these windows. You know, you don't know what love is. I got this Summer Wilson song stuck in my head. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the moon's transits for the week. So the moon today is in Sag. It is actually really nice because it's the fifth house away from our new moon in Leo that we had. Now what, a week and a few days ago? It's been like almost a week and a half since our new moon. Um, which has been a very revealing new moon. This new moon in Leo has been showing us a lot about ourselves. It's been showing us a lot about our psychology, our deeper motivations, our desires. There's been a purging of habits and behaviors. There's been a purging of our inner world that we've been doing with during this new moon cycle. Um, But the full moon in Aquarius is going to make us very aware of the other, our relationship with the other, our relationship with others, with friends, with community, with the outside world, right? I think it's going to be more about, you know, how we deal with Saturn opposite Mars in Libra, right? Saturn ruling over the full moon in Aquarius. How we deal with conflict, how we deal with controversy, how we deal with injustice in our relationship with others. Like, how do we deal with unfairness? How do we call other people out? How do we hold other people accountable? How do we assert ourselves in that space of relationship? That's what the big question is going to be, and that's where there's possibly going to be pressure applied for the full moon, okay? But so, anyways, moon in Sag, right? To today and tomorrow. So I'm looking at aspects. We actually have the moon trine sun today. Oh, we're feeling. I feel good. Yeah, it feels good. We're feeling good. We have the moon trine the sun. We have the moon separating from Mercury. The moon is only hitting a trine of the sun today. So, this could be about celebration and fun and your children. It's the fifth house away. So, I'm thinking that today's feeling good. Today's a vibe, Travel. It's really interesting actually that the moon is in Sag and my parents are actually traveling back. They're going back to California today. Um, so I'm taking him to the airport. Sagittarius rules long distance travel. So my parents are traveling back. The moon's going through my 10th house. It's hitting my Saturn, right? And it's actually really interesting because
Can you please reduce the background music a bit? Your voice got covered by it to some extent. There's no background music. That was me singing. Is there background music? You guys hear background music? That was just me singing. I was singing a song. It's so funny.
um where was I? Yeah, so what was I talking about? Yeah, there's no music. I was just singing a song for a second. What was I talking about? Oh yeah. Okay, so the moon's going through my 10th house, hitting my Saturn. Oh, what I was gonna say is that my parents, their flight got delayed. You're the music typical. Yeah, I was singing. You don't know what love is. Anyways, so my parents' flight got delayed. Okay. So yeah, my parents, they were supposed to be leaving around 2, now they're leaving around like 5 or 6. So it's so funny how we have the moon in Sag, but the moon's actually going to be hitting my Saturn. I have Saturn at 18 Sag. So the moon's going to be hitting 18 Sag today. And my parents, there's a delay with their travel, right? Moon in Sagittarius, long distance travel. Taking a plane, there's a delay, moon, Saturn coming together. Saturn is delays, setbacks, but also Mercury's retrograde, right? So, how's the Mercury retrograde been for everybody? Like, have you had to like reschedule things? Have there been cancellations? Have there been delays? Have you guys lost any objects? Someone ran into my car when it was parked because I had Venus in my fourth house, squaring Mars and Virgo in my seventh, and so someone ran into my car was parked and my car has been in the shop. Okay. So I've been driving a rental. So that's how the Mercury retrograde got me. But how's the Mercury retrograde been for everybody? Has there been any just moments of confusion? Have there been any moments of miscommunication? Have there been any kind of like days where you struggle with like technology or car or vehicle or anything has kind of like gone out or stopped functioning in some type of way? Like what's the Mercury retrograde been for people? Someone said a lot of cancellations and reach for me. Yeah. Rescheduling. Yeah, a lot of cancellations or rescheduling. Yeah, it's been a big one. That's definitely been a big one. But anyways, so yeah, so moon trine the sun today, feeling very good, feeling very expansive. The moon is transiting Sag today and tomorrow, so we're getting opportunity to kind of like think about it's like kind of like gaining that confidence to really trust yourself, to take a risk or take a chance. I always think about that relationship between Leo and Sagittarius, about this, being confident enough, Leo, to expand and grow and take risk and take chances and, traveling and exploring and also learning. I think the relationship between Leo and Sag, like there's an awareness that Sagittarius has that we don't know everything, right? Where Leo could be an energy that is very much very know-it-all. And so that moon and Sag with the sun and Leo is giving this opportunity to really like listen and to be open to different perspective, be open to different ideas, be open to different ways of seeing the world and seeing yourself and things like this, right? We should always be in a state of expansion and growth. It's one of the things that Jupiter teaches us and the sign of Sagittarius teaches us. We should always be expanding and growing in some type of way, okay? So Moon and Sag, trining the Sun in Leo today. This is kind of lucky. This is very fun. This is very expressive. Children, our fathers, fun, romance, dating, things like that. So I think today will be a good day to go dancing. Today will be a good day to do some arts and crafts. Today will be a good day to express yourself. Someone said, my apologies. My headphones are playing this weird music. I don't know where. You just fixed it. So sorry. It's okay. Mercury's retrograde, So really, she thought that there was like music in my background, but it's actually music coming out her own phone that had nothing to do with me, right? So that's a very Mercury retrograde thing. Loved improvising, thank you. You're getting your kiddo his first passport. I love that. It's beautiful. Yes. Getting your kiddo first passport today, Moon and Sag from the new moon in Leo, fifth house away. You're getting your kid, Leo, a passport, Sagittarius, so you could travel to foreign places. I love it. It makes so much sense. Okay. I love it. Very much aligns with the astrology of today. Okay. So tomorrow the moon is going to go, it's still going to be in Sagittarius, but the moon actually transitions from Sagittarius to Capricorn tomorrow. So I really do feel like tomorrow we're feeling this energy of like getting back to business. I will say though, tomorrow the moon's gonna square the nodes, and the moon's so Tuesday, I'm looking at Tuesday, August 5th. The moon's gonna square the nodes, and the moon's gonna square Mars before it leaves Sag and goes into Capricorn. Oh, Wednesday's looking really good too. This is so it's kind of like a mixed bag. I think I say that a lot. He's totally obsessed with geography. So this is Giovanni talking about her son. He's totally obsessed with geography and super excited to take his pick. He's a Leo sun and Mercury. That's so funny. I love that. Walking and rebounding indoors or listening to you. Thank you. So Tuesday, the moon's in Sag, okay? Squaring the nodes and squaring Mars tomorrow, okay? So tomorrow whenever the moon is squaring the nodes, especially if you have anything around 20 degrees of mutable sign, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, I want you to pay attention, mutable people, okay? Anything around 20. I want you to pay attention to what's moving, what's changing, what's kind of like flowing in your life. I met a 24-year-old guy on Friday, just turned 40 in April. We were going out on our first date. Oh, congratulations. I love that for you. Going out your first date today with the sunshine and the moon? I love it. You guys should have a fun time. You're gonna have a fun time today. Okay. Just don't drink too much, all right? Just don't drink too much. Yeah, right now is not a good time to be drinking too much or doing too much of anything, okay? Only because Saturn and Neptune are together. So if you want to escape and avoid and do things like do Neptunian things, do it responsibly, only because Neptune is in Aries with Saturn, and you do not want to subject yourself to some really difficult lessons or situations where you don't have like control because you're like blacked out or you're unconscious or because you're not totally aware, you're not there, okay? And you're misreading the situation, you're misunderstanding what's happening. That's one of the things that Neptune does. Neptune blurs our understanding or our experience of a situation to where we can be projecting or we can have we can be confused. We can have a blurred perception. We can think something is happening. We come up with a story or narrative that's not even real. It's not even happening. Okay? That's what Neptune does. Neptune will have us believing something that's not even real or have us putting together a story or experiencing a scenario that's not even really what's happening. Okay? It makes us more delusional. The shadows of Neptune. Neptune makes us more delusional. So this Saturn Neptune conjunction, Saturn Saturn, Neptune. It's okay to have fun and party. It's okay to, kind of escape, right? That's fine every now and then, but you got to know your limitations, Saturn, all right? So that you don't subject yourself to weird experiences or, you don't put yourself, you don't get into trouble, okay? Saturn. Saturn is rules, authority, limitations. Saturn's a troublemaker. So, yeah, so moons, but like I was saying, so moon square the nodes Tuesday, August 5th, moon in Sag, coming to last degree to Sag, squaring the nodes, and also squaring Mars. Tomorrow could be a little rough, could be a little awkward. If you have anything around 20 degrees of immutable sign, and you need to be paying attention to what's moving in your life, what's shifting, what's changing. Tomorrow could be a pressure point. Tomorrow could be pivotal. Tomorrow could be important because the moon is going to be squaring the nodes. Okay. And the moon's also going to square Mars, so that's going to be a little rough. We might feel a little irritated or agitated. We might feel very critical. We might feel very judgy. We might feel very busy. Okay. Literally can feel this. I've been doing a 9-day liver rescue right now. I love that. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely new timelines emerging. Yeah. And the if you're a mutable sign, you're getting eclipsed. Okay. I just want you to remember this. The nodes are going through Pisces and Virgo. You are getting eclipsed. Also, sorry to get so loud. I didn't mean to get so loud. Anyways, we have eclipse season coming. Eclipse season is on its way. So get ready. All right. Especially if you're a mutable sign. If you're a Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, we have the eclipses are coming. The eclipses are coming next month. End of this month, going into next month. So get ready, okay? You're getting eclipsed, okay? Total eclipse of the heart, all right? The eclipses are coming. The eclipses are coming. The sky is falling, right? The ground is rupturing. We've been having volcanoes going off. We've been having volcanoes going off. You guys been seeing all the volcanoes going off? Oh my goodness gracious. Russia had a volcano erupt. Um, and it hasn't erupted in 600 years. Russian volcano erupts days after nearby magnitude 8.8 earthquake. 8.8. 8.8. Indonesia's Mount Luabuti Lake erupts again. Indonesia, we've been having earthquakes. We've been having volcanoes erupting, okay? Y'all, this energy is not for the faint of heart. Mother Earth is responding to this energy, right? Like Mother Earth is getting triggered by this energy. So there's a lot of releasing of pressure, releasing. I want you to think about this. Earthquakes are what? They're a manifestation of built up pressure to play for so long, hundreds of years, thousands of years, millions of years, and bam, it gets released in a moment, right? Volcanoes, built up heat, built up fire, built up heat, built up pressure, right? All of a sudden, it explodes. So there's a lot of what is Mother Earth telling us right now? There's a lot of tipping points where like energy that's been accumulated or that's built up, it's being released. It's needing to be released, right? So Mother Earth is telling us this, and that's actually what the astrology is showing us. That there, like the pressure, the valve needs to be open. There needs to be some kind of pressure released. If we're in situations, we're experiencing things right now where there's a lot of built up pressure, there's a lot of built up tension, there's a lot of built up frustration. There's like these breaking points or these moments where there's of release, where everything is just like right? And we need to let that happen. That's a natural process. We need to honor that process, okay? So moon square the nodes tomorrow, all right? We're gonna be entering eclipse season at the end of this month, going into next month, I believe. So we'll talk about that when we get there, okay? We'll do an eclipse season live as well. But so yeah, moon and Sag square the nodes, fated karmic events, okay? For especially for mutable signs. And then on Wednesday, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we have the moon going through Capricorn, all right? But let me tell you why I love this. I actually really am digging the moon in Capricorn, especially on Wednesday, because the moon's going to be opposing Venus and Jupiter. It's really nice. It is this is kind of like this is the sixth house away from our new moon in Leo though. So, there can be some kind of like whatever the new moon opposite Pluto is meant to kind of like move or trigger in your life. If you are being impacted by this new moon, or if there's events flowing in your life and things like this, we may see the moon in Capricorn like wrap some things up. I don't know. The moon in Capricorn may be a little sad, only because it's the sixth house away from our new moon. And the sixth house, 12th house energy has a lot to do with like, it's like karmic release and things like this, but it's like endings and purging, and it's like the struggle and the mundane and reality checks and things like that, right? Especially moon in Capricorn loves to check us and bring us back down to earth. Okay. The moon in Capricorn is a sign that loves to humble us. Okay. But the beautiful thing about the moon in Capricorn is that it's opposing Venus and it's opposing Jupiter tomorrow. And this is very lucky. It's very blessed. So I'm really thinking that Wednesday, August 6th of this week is very lucky, very blessed for some folks. I'm really feeling like there may be some good news. This could also be about marriage and commitment and ceremony and celebration. You know what's so crazy is yesterday? Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. Yesterday, and the day before yesterday. So the day before yesterday, we were at the beach. What was that? Saturday. And there was a couple getting married at the beach, and oh my God, it was so sweet. And then yesterday, we were hiking out in the forest, and there was a couple taking wedding photos. Oh my God. And they were like in the sequoia trees, and they were taking wedding photos. And that's such a Venus, Jupiter, and Cancer thing. I was like, oh, they're so sweet with them getting married. That's such a Cancer Capricorn thing. And yeah, so tomorrow with the moon in Capricorn opposite Jupiter and Venus in Cancer, there's this kind of like sweetness, there's this benevolence, there's this luck, there's this joy, there's this, celebration, there's this, energy of like, oh my gosh, like what really matters to us, what's really important, home, family. And this could even be good for like work and career and stuff like this. I will say this, a lot of people are being pushed into new career directions. The signs that are, or the modalities that are especially feeling the new career directions right now at this moment in time are the cardinal signs, Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, Libra, and also the mutable signs, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag. Those that have a combination of cardinal and mutable, they're being pushed into like new work, new career directions. But the moon in Capricorn opposite Jupiter, Venus can bring some kind of good news, can bring some kind of like solution, can bring some kind of grace, or can even just make things feel very good and very easy on Wednesday. Okay, so I want you guys to pay attention to Wednesday because I feel like Wednesday is kind of like a notable day, or Wednesday is feeling like a really good day, only because it's moon opposite Venus, Jupiter. All right, the moon is gonna hit a square with Saturn first, though. In the beginning, it's going to square Saturn, Neptune, but then it immediately moves into an opposition with Jupiter and Venus. Hike on trail by beach couple got engaged. Chatted champagne for hikers. Oh, Virgo Sun, Sag rising, Cancer Moon's definitely a shift right now. Yeah. Yes, all immutable family and friends are changing jobs. Yeah, there's like a big reshuffling that's happening with like work and career direction for a lot of people, and we just need to lean into that, okay? But yeah, the Venus Jupiter. So Venus, Jupiter, and Cancer, right? Together this week, next week, like this month we're gonna see a lot of people getting married. We're gonna see a lot of people like coming together and like renewing their vows and doing some kind of ceremony or some kind of celebration. Also, like travel experiences right now, especially long distance travel experiences, are gonna be very fun and very joyous, or they're feeling very good because of Venus sitting with Jupiter. So, it's awesome. Also, we're gonna see people getting pregnant, women getting pregnant and things like this. Venus and Jupiter are together in Cancer. If you want to make a baby, if you've been trying to make a baby, okay, and you are in flow, I'm just gonna say that. You're in flow right now and trying to make a baby. Wednesday, Wednesday, do it Wednesday, okay? Even though the moon is in detriment, we have Jupiter, Venus there. So I think it's a great day to do it, okay? I think it's a great day. That's it. Just trying to make a baby. If you're trying to catch a man, you're trying to time down, okay? You're trying to time down. Make sure that you and him are bonded for life, okay? I won't be ovulating then.
I'm about to find out if I'm pregnant. I would not be surprised if you are, okay? We're gonna have a little bit of a baby boom with Jupiter and Cancer. A little bit of a baby boom. All right, so let's keep going. Thursday. Okay, so Thursday is a very important day because that's the day that Mars goes into Libra and we hit the opposition with Saturn. The moon is looking like it's separating from Jupiter on Thursday. Ma, 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 ma. But Mars goes into Libra on Thursday. The moon's in the middle degrees, coming to the end degrees of Capricorn on Thursday. Let's see. The moon's opposing Jupiter, but that's really it. I'm not seeing it make any really big aspects, anything else. So let's keep going. Mars goes into Libra, so that's important Thursday. All right. And then on Friday, the moon goes into Aquarius. Okay, so this is kind of important, all right? It's a little dramatic, all right? This is our full moon. So now when the moon goes into Aquarius on Friday, we are in the full moon energy. Okay. The moon immediately, though, immediately as it goes into Aquarius on Friday, it's going to hit a conjunction with Pluto and it opposes Mercury in Leo. Okay. So we can have some like weird Mercury retrograde experience on Friday. There could be some kind of miscommunication, some kind of cancellation. We could lose something. There could be a moment of revelation or a moment of epiphany. You can have this insight or this awakening, right, on Friday. Keep in mind, the moon going into Aquarius on Friday wraps up our new moon in Leo cycle. And so this is like the climax point. This is like the finish point. This is like the initiation point, the emancipation point. Okay, for some of you from our new moon in Leo. Whatever the new moon in Leo is trying to reveal to you or show you, or however the new moon in Leo is trying to get you to reclaim your power, go deep within yourself, try to move you forward, to try to like, it's like, I don't know, the new moon in Leo is trying to initiate something. It's trying to get us going in some type of new direction even though the new moon was, we had Mercury retrograde and it was trining Saturn retrograde in Aries, and there is this energy of we got to go backwards before we go forwards, right? We could be made aware of that in some type of way. That, there's something that we got to go back and do. There's something that we got to go back and fix, or something that we got to go back and like I don't know, pay homage to, or there's something that we got to go back and reflect on. There's something that we got to go back before we can go forward. Okay. So there's definitely this moment of like reflection, and it could be difficult. It could be a moment of trauma. It could be a difficult conversation. It could be a decision that you have to make or a choice you have to make. It's a little difficult, a little hard. So I just want you guys to be aware of Friday, okay? Because Friday is going to be a little bit of a heavy day. I think this energy it feels heavy. The moon going into Capricorn Thursday, the moon at the end, last degrees of Capricorn on Thursday, and then the moon going into Aquarius on Friday. It feels kind of heavy. It feels very emotional. The moon is full at this time as well. So on Friday, if you go out and look at the sky, you're already going to see the moon. It looks very, very full already. Okay, because we have our full moon the next day, right? So just keep in mind Moon Pluto together on Friday tends to be it might be a little dramatic, okay? It might be a little dramatic. It might be a little dramatic, traumatic, intense, pivotal, especially for fixed signs. Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, if you have anything at the early degrees, just keep that in mind, okay? All right, so let's keep going. So we have our full moon. If there's any aspects that you guys want to talk about or that you notice that I don't, you can be more than welcome to bring that up as well. Okay, Mars is now in Libra. What I really do like though about Friday though, I love that the moon is trining Uranus and trining Mars. I kind of feel like there's this radicalization, there's this energy, there's this opportunity for us to kind of like I don't know. It's like we're connecting to new people. We're feeling new ideas. We're feeling like we want to do something new. Want to learn something new. I don't know. We want to expand. Want to try something new. I want to work and do something new. Do something new. There's this invitation with this like Uranus, Mars, Pluto grand trine to like put our passions, put our desires, and to go into like some kind of new direction with it in some type of way. There's something new here. I'm looking at the Mars and Libra trining Pluto and Aquarius and Uranus and Gemini, and this is giving me this feeling of like there's something new here to be discovered. There's something new here that we want to play with. There's something new that we want to like tinker with or that we want to learn or there's a new direction that's kind of like coming to us. So just keep that in your awareness, keep that in the back of your head. Kind of pay attention to where is the universe kind of like pushing you towards? Like where are you being shown that you need to go? Like where are you being it's like you're being, I don't want to say you're being, I don't know, for some of you, you may be getting coerced. This may be like a forced transition, like because things have been taken away from you, things have ended, there's been like these experiences that you've been going through where it's like, absolutely not, this is no more, this is not for you, so you're being forced. But I feel like for others of us, there is it's like an invitation. It's like, come on, come over here. I got something for you. Come over here. Come try this. Come do this. Come experience this new thing. Or this could even be through a person. Like, oh, come talk to this person, see what this relationship is going. Just come and find out. There may be something here for you. So I think we got to be very exploratory. I think we got to be very inquisitive. I think we got to be willing to color outside the lines. You got to be willing to kind of like flirt with things that are different or strange or that are unique or that we were like, oh, I would never thought of myself doing that or I never considered this, but I think we should. I think we should entertain that. Okay. I think we should be open to that. Okay. Especially leading into this full moon in Aquarius. Okay. Um, so, all right. That was Friday, August 8th. Moon hitting Pluto, moon trine Uranus, moon trine Mars. So this grand trine with moon, Pluto, Mars, Uranus that we have on Friday. So then we have our full moon. Welcome everybody coming in. Then we have our full moon on Saturday, okay? It's at 16 degrees, all right, which is a Cancer degree. Um, and the moon it's squaring Lilith and Scorpio, so I do think we're gonna see more scandals and more drama and more things around, more Diddy type of things. The Lilith and Scorpio, more Diddy type of things. More kind of controversy or scandals or things like that. I will tell you, we're gonna see more celebrities passing away, my loves. We saw a lot of celebrities passing away during the full moon and Capricorn cycle. Even with the new moon in Leo, the new moon in Leo, I think when did Hulk Hogan pass away? Hulk Hogan. We had Hulk Hogan pass July 24th. Yeah, I think that was when was that? What was going on in the sky that time? Was that our full moon and Capricorn cycle? Or was that like the day of our new moon? Oh wow, yeah, that was like the day before our new moon. Yeah, that was like us wrapping up, and that was when the sun opposite hit in opposition with Pluto. The sun had just got into Leo and hit in opposition with Pluto. So yeah, so we're seeing it's that's what happens, my loves, when timelines change, when we're stepping into a new timeline. What happens is we have a lot of people that were a part of that timeline pass, right? Yeah, Theo from the Cosby Show. I think he was another Leo. Ozzy passed. Yeah, we had a lot of people pass. So we're kind of in that energy again with the full moon in Aquarius. People that have heart issues, the Pluto and Leo generation, the Pluto and Leo folk, okay? They're the ones that are kind of dealing with the pressure from um, this full moon in Aquarius ruled by Saturn in Aries. Let me go back to the right time. Hold on. We got to go back to Saturday. Da-da-da-da-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Yeah, because Mercury's retrograde opposing Mercury goes direct, right? On Sunday, the day after but Mercury is stationed 4 degrees in Leo, in a fixed opposition with Pluto. Mercury is sitting at 4 degrees Leo. I'm looking at Thursday, August 14th. Mercury is still at 4 degrees Leo. Mercury is not moving next week. He doesn't go till 5 degrees Leo. He doesn't shift. He doesn't start moving forward. Actually, he's just like sitting at 4 degrees until Friday, August 15th. you know? So we have this kind of like Mercury Pluto opposition in the sky. Starting this weekend, going into next week, Mercury goes direct, but it's clunky. It's a little traumatic. It's a little, it's not this Mercury retrograde has been a little different because of Mars in Virgo and the Venus in Gemini initially, right? But the ending or the finale of this Mercury retrograde, it's kind of ending on a dramatic note because it's going direct in opposition to Pluto and Aquarius, which is kind of bringing us back to our new moon in Aquarius or a new moon in Leo that was opposing Pluto and Aquarius, right? So we have Pluto's very active. Pluto's very active. Pluto's getting hit all up and down, left and right, you know? And when we're going through these transits that where Pluto is very active, it's a little traumatic. It's a little, we have to confront Pluto. We're dealing with Hades, we're dealing with the underworld. We're dealing with things unseen, things unknown. We're dealing with mystery. We're dealing with, obsessive qualities or obsessive tendencies. We're dealing with our addictions. We're dealing with our shadows. We're dealing with our trauma. Yeah, as if it wasn't messy enough. I know, my love. So, but I do think Mercury direct, though, I think the good thing about Mercury direct is we're coming out of this Mercury retrograde with more clarity around who we are, around our motivations. We're coming out of this Mercury or this Mercury retrograde in Leo because it's the Mercury goes direct opposing Pluto. We're coming out of this with like new excavated material. It's like this Mercury retrograde, there's been an invitation to go really deep and like really dig and like it's like I'm kind of getting this image of like if we see ourselves as a pyramid and there's like we're like archaeologists underneath the pyramid. We're like excavating things. We're digging up things. We're seeing what we could find, right? And then like this Mercury, so it's like Mercury direct in this opposition with Pluto this weekend, Sunday going into next week. It's like we're coming out, we're coming from underneath the pyramid with all the things that we found. Like, look what I found. Like look at this, look at that, look what I have. Look what I discovered. Look what I uncovered within myself about myself, right? Look at this passion that I rediscovered. Look at this motivation, right? Oh, I didn't understand how that habit, how that thing, how that experience, how that person was actually influencing me, but now I can see it, right? Seems like there's like these deeper revelations, right? Also, things just solutions coming forward. That's one of the things we love about Mercury Direct is Mercury starts to solve all the problems that he created, or we start to make those decisions or choices. We start to get clarity around like things. Things start to move forward again, right? The solutions start to come. We get the yeses, we get the letters coming in, we get the phone calls, we get the appointments. I'm hoping to get my car back. Someone said, "What is your take on breakups that happen during Mercury retrograde?" Well, I think if breakups that happen during Mercury retrograde have a lot to do with Mercury issues, mostly like communication, decision making, or just finding it really hard to like deal with that person day to day. Um, I think it's one of the things when it comes to synastry, when people have incompatible Mercuries, when their Mercuries are like not working together. When people have two Mercuries that are very opposite, or not, I wouldn't even say opposite, because opposite is good actually when it comes to synastry. Well, when people have a Mercury synastry that is just bad, miscommunication, timing issues, arguing, unable to make choices and decisions together. Oh my God, that's the one thing like Mercury synastry is very important. It may seem trivial, but it's not trivial. Because if you can't talk to your person, if they can't listen to you, if they can't understand what you're saying, okay, if they're not willing to see your perspective, if you guys can't figure out your day-to-day relationship, like, because Mercury in synastry is like your mundane experience of the relationship. Like, what does it look like every day? What does your relationship look like every day? And if you do not have good Mercury synastry with somebody, or if you break up during a Mercury retrograde or whatever, it's because you guys just can't figure out the basics, the day to day. You can't figure out the basics, how to talk to each other, how to listen, how to communicate, how to fit into each other's day. Like text messages, phone calls, good morning texts. Like if you can't figure that stuff out, the basics, those are the basics. We're not even talking about moon stuff yet. We're not even getting to the Venus stuff yet. We're just talking about Mercury. You can't even figure that out. Good luck, okay? Because that's the foundation. Mercury is the foundation that you build a communication. Your day to day, what the relationship looks like day to day. If that's not sustainable, if you guys can't put each other figure out how to get each other into each other's lives, where it's like where the relationship is like a routine, a part of your routine, good luck. Good luck. Okay. But I think that breakups that happen during Mercury retrograde, it depends on how serious it is. If it's just like a miscommunication thing, then when Mercury goes direct, then there's an opportunity for us to get it like fixed, you know? I think because the thing about Mercury is like Mercury is not a planet that is about like permanent change. Like Mercury is so like I'll do it again. Mercury is a planet that is so is Jupiter. Like they'll give it another go. They'll try it out again. Mercury and Jupiter are planets that are not like Mercury is not like Saturn. Like Saturn is very much like when I'm done, I'm done. And you'll see this with Capricorn and Aquarius people, especially if they have like a Venus or if they have a moon or a rising in like Capricorn or Aquarius, or people that have a strong Saturn imprint, when they're done, they're done. And that's similar with Mars people too, like Aries, Scorpio people. I don't know, it depends on Scorpio. Scorpios, it depends on what they got going on. But usually Mars energy is also those are planets, Saturn, Mars. When they're done, they're done. Like we're not going back. We're done. Like I'm done with that. We're not doing that again, you know? They may go back once or twice. But Mercury and Jupiter are planets that they love to go back. They're very wishy-washy. They're very like, oh, let's do this again. Oh, it wasn't that serious. Oh, you just move on. And you see this with like Pisces, Sag. You see this with Gemini, Virgo. Well, I think Virgo is of that quality. Virgo is the least of that. But I think Pisces, Gemini, and Sag are signs that are very wishy-washy, and they'll go back. They'll try it out. They'll have at it again. Oh, let's try this out again. Because they're not serious planets. So I think breakups that happen during Mercury retrograde, like it may not be that big of an issue. It may not have been that big of a problem, but it really depends on the gravity of the situation and why you broke up. You know what I mean? Like, so a lot of times people break up during Mercury retrograde. It's usually because of miscommunication things, or it's because of information that comes, because Mercury rules information, right? So information that comes to them to where they're like, whoa, right? Or also Mercury retrograde, um, people will release will give someone some truth, right? And they'll reveal some information, right? Sometimes like a confession or even information comes to light, like we saw with the at the Coldplay concert with the CEOs that got caught cheating. Information will come to light, right? That gives clarity around a situation that could lead to a breakup or a separation. But then when Mercury goes direct with with what we know, now that we know what we know, are we able to heal? Are we able to build? Are we able to forgive? Are we able to move forward, right? Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a month or 3 times a year. Mercury is the planet that he's the planet that retrogrades the most. And so, and the reason it's so funny that because Mercury rules over media, Mercury rules over communication, Mercury rules over, newscast and the news and news anchors and social media and stuff, right? So it's just so interesting. One of the things that I talked about during Mercury retrograde or when Mercury is retrograding is how Mercury retrograde is such a media event because of Mercury's rulership over the media. This is why Mercury retrograde is, such a prominent thing. If there's anything that people know about astrology is they know their sun sign and they know Mercury retrograde. Like those are the two things, right? They're gonna know if they're a Scorpio, a Taurus, Aquarius, or a Leo, and they're gonna know about Mercury retrograde in some type of way, okay? Because of Mercury's rulership over, the media. So it's so funny. But yeah, so I don't know. It really depends on your situation and how the Mercury retrograde hit your chart for the relationship. But Mercury retrograde is showing you in some type of way what is not functioning in your day to day.
Mercury is here to show us what is not in alignment with our day to day, right? What is kind of draining us, exhausting us? What is unbalanced? What is unfair? What is causing some kind of disharmony in our day to day, right? And sometimes it's a job, sometimes it's a relationship, sometimes it's just a habit, sometimes it's you, it's your own energy, it's what you're thinking, what you're feeling and stuff, right? It really depends. So, okay, hopefully that helps to that person that asked that question. But if you want to go deeper, you can always book a reading and I can let you know how it's hitting your chart. Anyways, okay, so let's wrap up here because it's 11 o'clock. So the moon is in Aquarius. We have our full moon on Saturday. Moon goes into Aquarius Friday. We have our full moon on Saturday, and the moon on Sunday is wrapping up in the sign of Aquarius. And then when it goes into Pisces on Sunday, yeah, August 10th, the moon's wrapping up the sign of Aquarius. We are now in our full moon and Aquarius cycle, and the moon goes into Pisces going into Monday. Um, the moon's not making any like big aspects. The moon opposes, yeah, the Mercury on Friday opposes the sun for a full moon on Saturday, and the moon is moving out of Aquarius on Sunday and goes into Pisces. And the moon is going to square Uranus on Sunday. So, so Sunday could be a little be random. We can have interesting run-ins with strangers, something unexpected, something fun, something exciting, We've got to think we're at Sunday, it's the day after the full moon, so we're feeling very energized. It's a full moon in Aquarius, so hanging out with friends, hanging out with the people, socializing, things like this, throughout the weekend. I think it's gonna be a fun weekend though. We have Jupiter, Venus coming into conjunction, so it's feeling good. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And then on Monday, as the moon is going through Pisces, okay, the moon is going to trine Jupiter and Venus. Oh, Monday feels so good. Monday's really good. Who's someone's getting like proposed to on Monday, Monday the 11th. Someone's getting married, someone's getting proposed to, someone's getting pregnant. Someone's something very sweet, very kind, very loving. Oh, I love this. Um, if a child is born on Monday, August 11th, they are going to have such a good relationship with, oh my God, they're going to be obsessed with their mother. Oh my God. Coming from a good family right here. It does look like dad may have like dropped the ball a little bit. Or dad, yeah, dad is a menace. Any children that are born um the week of August 11th, starting Monday, August. Mom is an angel. She's a witch though, but she's an angel. But dad is the menace. Okay. Dad is, oh yeah, and then we have Mars opposite Saturn. So we're still doing Mars. So there's some kind of conflict or some kind of fighting or some kind of difficulty, the karmically, you know. So Saturn in Aries with Mars in Libra. Okay. A lot of relationship karma unfolding. I hate to say it. There's going to be a lot of relationship karma unfolding this week, starting on Thursday when Mars goes into Libra, going into next week, my loves. This full moon in Aquarius, there's going to be a lot of lessons that people have to learn about relationships, discernment when it comes to relationships, accountability, injustice, learning how to deal with conflict in a healthy way. Conflict is an essential part of our human experience. How you go about it, though, is going to determine your success and how you experience conflict in your day to day life. You cannot be avoidant. You cannot be conflict avoidant. This astrology is going to show you. I'm telling you, my loves, you got to develop some backbone with this, with the time that we're stepping into. Okay, we have a lot of masculine energy. Uranus in Gemini, Saturn in Aries, Pluto in Aquarius, okay? This is a lot of masculine energy in the air, all right? And so you got to be strong, you got to be assertive, you got to know who you are, you got to know what you want, you got to develop some backbone, okay? Because otherwise you won't get walked all over in this timeline. This timeline requires a strong sense of inner self, a little bit of fortitude. You got to be it's going to be a little rough. This timeline's gonna be a little rough, you guys. I'm gonna be honest with you, okay? So this is not an easy timeline. This is a
This is a little bit of a rough timeline, my loves. Okay. A lot of masculine energy. So, okay. But I love you guys so much. Have a beautiful, blessed day. Enjoy the week. I'll be getting back to doing astrology content, I promise. I've been on vacation kind of like all month a little bit. My parents have been here for the last week. They're going home today. And Leo season is my sixth house, so it's time for me to get back to work. Cancer season is my fifth house, so it's my season of fun. I was on vacation in early July. I was in LA. I went on a cruise, and I was hanging out with my family for a week. So I've been feeling very, yeah, this is gonna be posted to YouTube. Yeah, let me make sure that I did I record this? Let's see. Yeah, this has been recorded. Yeah, this is gonna be posted to YouTube. So I will post it to YouTube in a few hours, okay? I'll make sure that I was a little delayed on that last week, but I'll make sure I get to that this week. Oh, thank you, my love. I appreciate it. But you guys have a beautiful, blessed day. Thank you for spending time with me today. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to spend time with you guys and to share the magic of the stars with you. You know, give yourself grace, okay? Some final thoughts for this week ahead, astrology for our session today. Some final thoughts, some final takeaways. Give yourself grace. Don't be hard on yourself right now. Understand that there's a lot of moving pieces. Things may feel a little bit more complicated right now. Okay. So do what you can. All right. Don't expect too much of yourself. There's a lot shifting societally, globally, and we may be, some of us may be getting caught in the cracks of all this big change, right? So just keep in mind, like, there's nothing to be afraid of, there's nothing to be scared of. We are in this moment, in this kind of divine moment in humanity where, the old is no longer working and the new is being born, but we're really confused on what that looks like. And there's a lot of kind of like, there's a lot of like competing narratives. But just trust, have faith, be positive, and be creative, be expressive. It's Leo season, right? We're wrapping up our new moon in Leo cycle. We have full moon in Aquarius coming up on Saturday, but this is a time where you need to really embrace your authenticity. Be confident, trust yourself. Don't be afraid to share your skills, share your talent, share your gifts with the world. You really, really, we got to develop that trust with ourselves. You got to trust yourself so much that you got to believe in yourself. You got to trust in yourself and be confident in yourself so much that, like, be able to go out in the world and like show up. And even if people don't like it, even if it doesn't hit, even if people are like, oh, whatever, there's going to be people that really love and admire and appreciate and that connect with your creativity, with your confidence, with your self-expression, with your humor, with your joy, with whatever it is. Whatever you're here to birth into the world, whatever you're here to create into the world, there's people out there, there's a community that's just waiting to connect to you. Okay, so but remember that. Remind yourself of that this Leo season, okay? But I love you all so much. Have a beautiful, blessed day. Everyone that donated, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And yeah, I'll see you guys around. I'll see you on the flip side, okay? Mwah. I love you guys. Have a good day. Bye.